Today, we are making one of my favorite recipes of all time, curry chicken. All right, so one of the first things that you're gonna wanna do is get some chicken prepared. These have already been cleaned with lime juice and vinegar. It's the traditional West Indian way of cleaning chicken, but we had to make sure we got that part taken care of. Now, you can use chicken breast if you want to. Me personally, I like using chicken thighs because they're a bit juicier. Chicken breast tends to dry out a little bit more, even though we're gonna have it marinating in that curry. But nonetheless, we want the juiciest meat possible. So I'm using boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now this is roughly over about 2 pounds, but this is about 6 pieces of chicken thighs. And I've got it finely diced and cut up. Now for the next part, we're gonna go ahead and get these chicken thighs seasoned up. The traditional recipe is gonna tell you to use kosher salt, table salt, sea salt. I don't wanna make this really salty. Don't get me wrong, it does need that flavor. But for a nice substitute and a little bit of an enhancement, I personally recommend using MSG. 60% less sodium. It accentuates the flavor as the label does say. So this is roughly gonna be about 2 teaspoons, but I'm going to eyeball it. And this is gonna provide a nice salty base for that chicken without being too salty, if you know what I'm talking about. And then from there, we're going to season it with some black pepper with the same amount of teaspoons. This is going to be about 2 teaspoons, probably a little bit more, but I'm going to eyeball this just as well. Hear me out. I'm using 3 types of garlic, and yes, I said 3, but check it out and I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Starting off, I'm gonna use a little bit of garlic powder. So this is gonna be probably a tablespoon or less. Reason being is because garlic powder to me goes in any type of chicken, whether you're frying the chicken, baking the chicken, sauteing it. There's base seasonings that I like to use. Those seasonings are salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. Next up, I'm gonna add in about 6 garlic cloves. These garlic cloves are finely minced. I like the flavor personally of minced garlic. It adds a certain depth of flavor to it. And then last, but certainly not least, a teaspoon of garlic paste. This just gives it additional texture. Every single Trinidadian Caribbean chef is going to let you know, if you're making a dish that has Caribbean flavor in it, you're going to need green seasoning. Me personally, I like to go in with a couple of tablespoons just to give it that flavor. And listen, if you want the step-by-step recipe for my green seasoning, just check out the link in the description below. Might get a little bit messy, so let me go ahead and put my gloves on. And what we're gonna do now is simply get everything mixed and well combined. Now I know what you're probably thinking, this green seasoning is gonna make that chicken look a little bit weird, but don't worry. It's all from the cilantro, the celery, the parsley that I used, just to give it that green earthy flavor. But green seasoning is absolutely necessary in most Caribbean dishes. So if you had beef patties before, if you had roti, if you had curries, chances are it has green seasoning in it. But like I said, you'll get that recipe in the description below and you'll be able to make your own in no time. Get your plastic wrap out. I don't know who invented plastic wrap, but I don't understand why it has to be so complicated to take out sometimes. Like you think you get a nice patch of plastic wrap and then what happens? It just bunches up. Yeah, there we go. Didn't happen this time, but typically it bunches up and then it makes it hard to kind of close. But whatever the case, we got it done this time. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap my bowl. I'm gonna let this marinate for about an hour. I'd recommend, if you don't have the time or patience, to do this for about 30 minutes, but an hour works best. Sometimes I would like to go overnight just to get that maximum flavor, but considering that this is a curry, we want to build as much flavor as possible. So the longer you let it marinate, the better off it will taste. But we're gonna just do this for an hour for the video's sake. Now as my Dutch oven starts to heat, I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of oil. And we're gonna turn the heat up to medium high. This is just to give a chance for that curry to fully cook and develop some of that beautiful flavor we're used to. All right, now before we get to building our curry, first we have to get it liquefied. So what I like to do is I like to take about 3 or 4 tablespoons of my favorite curry. Typically I use Chief's brand. You can use Grace, whatever brand you feel comfortable with. And we're just gonna toss that right into our bowl here. I'm using heaping tablespoons just for your information. And optionally, I also use about half a tablespoon of turmeric. Now I've got about a 1/4 cup of hot water here. Yep, that'll do. And essentially We don't need that big of a whisk. Let's use a fork. Make it easier. Essentially what we're gonna do is mix all that hot water in to form a paste. If you find it to be a little bit too thick, just add a little bit of hot water at a time until you get the right consistency. You don't want this too loose, but you don't want it too thick. There we go. That is the desired level of thickness you want your curry. It's gonna cook in that oil. It's gonna give us beautiful flavor. So let's move on to the stove. All right, as we can see, the oil is getting hot. So we're gonna go ahead and toss in our curry. And you can hear that sizzle. Now you can use any pot or pan that you like. I prefer the Dutch oven personally, because as you can see, that curry is starting to brown beautifully, but also you're gonna get those little bits that kind of stick to the pan. And once you add the water and the tomatoes and all that moisture kind of evaporates and builds up that fond, you're gonna get beautiful flavor. And I'm just gonna let this cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just gonna toss in my chicken so the chicken can get some of that curry flavor. Gonna put that chicken in there, all the way in there. At this part, we're just gonna get everything nice and stirred up. If you're worried about the curry burning at the bottom, it's perfectly fine. That moisture from the chicken and the green seasoning is gonna help to pick up some of that in the meantime. So this way, all that flavor kind of gets to the chicken and builds it up. You want to make sure that all that curry is mixed into that chicken before you let it sit. So this way you don't have any pieces that are just naked, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you want everything to be covered with curry, not just, oh, 4 pieces are missing the flavor and then the rest is covered with curry. And I'm just going to put a lid on top of it and I'm going to let that cook for about 10 minutes. Now, if y'all know me, time management is essential when it comes to cooking. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm getting my potatoes peeled and diced, and then I'm going to get my carrots finally diced. Because what's going to happen is, after that 10 minutes is up, I'm going to add my vegetables, you know, my tomatoes, my green pepper, my Scotch bonnet. Then I'm going to add the water, and that's going to go ahead and start the process of cooking that chicken with the curry. You know, after about maybe like 20 minutes or so, when I feel like the chicken is soft and tender, almost to the point where I could, you know, let it go for like 20 more minutes, I'm going to go ahead and add those potatoes and the carrots. And by the time they get nice and soft, the chicken will be done. All right, now I have a bowl of cold water here. What I'm going to go ahead and do is, as I dice my potatoes, I'm going to add those potatoes to the cold water just to make sure that they don't oxidize. If you don't know what oxidize means, it just means that the potatoes are going to turn brown. You can cut up these potatoes however you like. You want to do cubes, you want to do quarters, half circles, whatever the case is. Just make sure they're all the same size so they cook evenly. And essentially, we're going to do the same thing with the carrot. Cut it however you want to cut it. I'm just cutting it into quick rounds. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. Let's take that top off. And as I said before, all of that moisture builds up and it's gonna take away from those crispy bits at the bottom to help build that fond. It's smelling delicious, if you ask me. So now at this part, what we're gonna wanna go ahead and do is I've got 3 things to add to this dish. The first thing, just to help give it a little bit more moisture, is we're gonna add about half a cup of tomatoes, as you can see here. We're gonna dump that in there. And this is just gonna give that curry some flavor. It's gonna give it some nice texture. The perfect chef's kiss. Like, trust me, this is gonna be one of the best meals you'll ever have. And after I get that stirred in, I'm gonna add both of my peppers. First, starting off with the green pepper. And I'm just gonna get that nice and mixed in. I'm gonna let y'all know this right now. I got some Scotch bonnet. This is 1 Scotch bonnet pepper or habanero pepper, however you want to say it. You can take the seeds out if you want to. Me personally, I like a little bit of spice in mine, so we're gonna go ahead and add some of them seeds. Toss that in there. And this is gonna get another mix. And the great thing about this curry is that it is customizable in terms of the spice tolerance. If you want to add more peppers, add more peppers. If you want to take the seeds out, if you want to leave the seeds in, it's your choice. I'm giving you the base instructions, but the overall spice level is completely up to you. All right. And once we get that mixed in, we're gonna add some hot water. Now, I've got a pot of hot water boiling here because I'm gonna have to add it in later on in increments just to make sure that I don't get too thick of a sauce, but I get a good enough sauce so that it's nice and consistent. And I'm gonna eyeball it to about a little over half a cup. That's perfect for now. Then we're just gonna give that a nice, beautiful stir just to make sure that it's immersed into that liquid. And I'm also going to be stirring so some of those brown bits at the bottom can kind of come off and build into that flavor. I'm going to shut it up with the lid again. And we're going to leave this on for about 40 minutes. I'm going to come back in about 10 minutes just to give it a little temperature check. See if I need to add more hot water. See if I need to, let it cook a little bit more. But whatever the case is, we're going to let the pot do its thing. And we'll be right back. All right, y'all. So it's been about another 10 minutes. Just doing a quick check on my chicken. It's looking good, looking good. Gonna give that another stir. And as you can see, that curry is coming together just how I like it. That water is starting to evaporate a little bit. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm just gonna add a touch more hot water. I'm gonna add in my potatoes. And I'm gonna add in my diced carrot. At this point, and only this point, is where I say you can adjust for seasoning. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add some salt. I'm gonna add some of that black pepper. Why not add a touch more of that garlic powder? Just a little bit. And then we're gonna close it with the lid. And by the next time we check, our curry should be done. Been about 40 minutes, so let's go ahead and we're gonna check on our curry. Shit, that's hot. That looks good. As that cools, that curry is gonna thicken up a bit. So if you let it sit for a few minutes, it should bring everything together just right. My goodness, look at that. Sheer perfection. Woo! All right, and now for the fun part, we're gonna go ahead and get this plated. As with any curry, you're just gonna get some plain white rice. I'm using jasmine rice for mine. I want a lot. I can eat all that rice. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that sauce on top because we do not want a dry curry, nor do we want dry rice. Yes, Lord, that looks delicious. Look at that. That is a beautiful plate of food right there, I'm telling y'all. Real beautiful plate. Listen, at this point, the only thing we can do is give it a taste. So let's try it out. Everything, let me let y'all see that right quick. Potatoes, carrots, chicken, rice. So the curry is good. It is delicious. Perfect amount of spice, great taste. It's got a kick to it, but it's not overwhelmingly hot. And again, like I said earlier, you can just adjust it to your spice tolerance. Oh yeah, this is the one. Listen, I don't have to say too much. You already know what I'm going to tell you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for all of my latest recipes. Go to my website at cookingwithpatlee.com for this recipe plus several of my favorites. Make sure you follow for more recipes like these. And until the next time we feast, peace.